Welcome to Women of the Wild,
where education and opportunities are key.
And friendships are made to last a lifetime.
Did you get it?
You think we got him? You think we got him? We got him. We said that yesterday.
All right, Skylar, what do we got here?
We've got a nice looking rip-off.
Yeah. Oh, there she is. Woo! You dropped our great ghost.
Give me a hug.
Hello, and welcome to the Women of the Wild podcast. I am your host, Linda White, and today I have my co-host, Felicia Marie, with me. How you doing, Felicia?
great, and yourself?
I'm doing great. And our guest today is Sam Beland. How are you doing, Sam?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm excited to be here.
We're excited to have you. Sam, so we're going to kind of just kick right into things. Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got started in the outdoors.
Well, so I feel like I have a different story than kind of a lot of people who consider themselves, quote, outdoorsy, right? I've always loved the outdoors in the sense of being in nature. My mom is an avid runner and hiker and just absolutely loves the outdoors. So every time we were with her, my sister and I growing up, we would always go on walks and go with her on her runs and, ride our bikes or rollerblade or such. And so with my dad, though, my dad himself grew up going on occasional hunts with family, but we did a lot of fishing together. And so we would go on fishing trips and I kind of explained this in my little introduction for Women of the Wild when I was highlighted on there a couple weeks ago, which was awesome. Thank you guys for that. I love those little shout outs. I know it makes people feel so welcomed and appreciated. So we used to go on these kind of fishing trips. And my most memorable one with him that really got me into fishing and really made me want to just immerse myself in the outdoors as a child was our first trip up to the UP, where we had to hike miles and miles into the woods to find a spot to just camp. And so when you're in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, that's what you do. there's not really, you park on the side of the road and you just kind of go, right? Of course, that was also the 90s, a little bit different now, but maybe not too much. I don't think so, but yeah, so that's what we did. And that first trip was just the coolest. We hiked miles into the woods. We saw black bears. We saw carcasses of different kinds of animals. And then we got to this wide open brook and then just set up camp there for a few days. And we had to catch what we were going to eat for the night. And it was just such a good experience because, I kind of grew up in the city in a sense. So being able to do something fun and be a part of nature like that, I just was addicted. I absolutely loved it. So that's how I kind of got into all of the outdoors experience. That's my biggest kind of cue. And so then growing up with my friend, she lived on acres of land and we just spent all of our time in the woods. We built, little tree houses and just, made little pretend suppers and stuff like the pioneer days and, but that's actually what taught me foraging too. So I just thought, it's like a little kid and your imagination just goes wild. You're just teaching yourself, how to kind of learn the land itself and how everything works with itself. So I would say that's about how I got involved in it, but hunting didn't come until later in life.
So how old
So
were
we,
you when you first started doing all of that? Like
oh,
you were young.
yeah, I would say where we started doing the fishing trips and like playing in the woods and stuff all the time, like 10, maybe 8 or 10,
Oh, okay.
pretty young.
All
Yeah.
right. So then
So
how did you transfer into hunting and kind of branching out? You said that came
yeah,
later?
yeah. So in as like middle school and high school came along, I got more busy. I was always involved in sports. I was a book nerd, still am. Just absolutely love, reading and such. And so I just like my whole life just got really busy as a kid, especially if you have kids that are in sports, it just takes up time. It's just, that's what you do. And we always kind of made it a point to have at least a few trips where we would be able to still go and enjoy nature, whether that meant if you're from Michigan, we went to, the Silver Lake and dunes, or we would go on hiking trips. My mom especially would take us on kind of these vacations in the summer, but we would always end up hiking wherever we were going. And we always had to have some great kind of locations for us to just kind of hang out and enjoy the outdoors. And so when I graduated high school, I kind of felt like that's where I left off. I was dating a guy at the time, and he was he loved to be out in the woods just as much. And so we got a little bit more into that together. Um, and he had started hunting. He had never grown up hunting. And so he was like, I'm gonna try this. And I was like, I do too. I love animals and such, but I also I want to be able at some point in my life be able to know how to harvest an animal myself and provide for myself as well. So we kind of get into that, but it started kind of small game, right? Like rabbits and squirrels and stuff like that. And then I just kind of fell off of that for a while until probably my late 20s. And I kind of felt like something was missing in my life. So I got much more into fishing, which was what I knew, and foraging. But it was always my goal to get back into learning how to hunt. So small game, big game, anything of that sort.
So I gotta say, you said you didn't get it into it until like your late 20s. I
Mhm.
honestly thought you were in your mid 20s, so you're looking darn good there, lady.
I'm going to be 37 this year.
Oh,
37. Yeah.
well,
Let
Yeah.
me
When
tell
that,
you, you are so young in spirit, though. You would never, ever know your age from it. Like, you
mm-mm.
are
well,
just
good.
a ball of fire all the time and so much fun. And the laughter you bring to the field, like, you're just a phenomenal person to be around.
I appreciate that. You have to have fun in life. We've all gone through hard, times in life. And what are you going to do with that? I've learned from the hard times in my life, and I've honestly learned to appreciate my life a lot more. And I think that's where it picked up of, in my late 20s, going through emotional things and just some really tough times. And I was trying to think of what am I missing in my life? Like what makes me happy? And I was like, why am I not immersing myself in the outdoors? That's where I was the happiest. As a kid, as a kid, you don't really think of anything that's really terrible in life if you hopefully lived a good life, but a good childhood, I should say. But, and when you said you have to be one with yourself too. And I think being in nature, if that really helps me. And that's what helps me be happier and kind of be with myself and think through my feelings and kind of just remember that I'm a human and to go on with life in a more positive spirit than, maybe the negative that surrounds me at that point. So yeah, I think I appreciate the the wild young spirit we have going on here. um, but yeah, 37. It's gonna be crazy. Like I was thinking that, and so that was kind of my goal. Is in my 30s, I wanted to make sure that I got into hunting. I wanted to get into archery, and I wanted to get into hunting. So that is what I am doing.
And you experienced your first waterfowl season with us this past
I
season.
did. I did. I've always wanted to hunt them. So I grew up in so I've had goose a few times. I think I was telling you this before, Felicia, that, I hate geese. When I was 4, I got attacked by a goose and I was doing nothing and I don't understand why I was doing it. So I've always had this resentment toward geese, right? I think we all have that story that exactly. Raise your hand. Everybody was raising their hand and probably laughing about it. Like, damn goose was chasing me, or a swan or something, right? And I was like, the world should just be rid of the geese, kind of stuff. I was like, they're not even good to eat. And a couple of years ago, I said that, and someone looked at me and said, they're not good to eat. And I said, no. Every time I said goose is the grossest thing I've ever had. And they go, well, they haven't cooked it right for you. I'm like, I mean, that's probably fair. That's fair. And so they cooked it a different way. And I was like, wow, this is actually not bad at all. So then, light bulb went off. I was like, well, now I can just go, I went duck hunting one time and I just loved it. But again, it's expensive. So if you do it on your own, it's better with a group of people, kind of stuff. So that opportunity didn't really arise until a little bit later. But when I was looking at, I think something was posted on a different women's hunting group on social media, and it was that waterfall one. And I think you had posted on like Women Who Hunt or something like that I was following at the time. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I was like, this is amazing, because I had never gone goose hunting. And, I was aware that it was different than duck hunting, but, and it's not like I knew too much about that at the time either. So I was like, this is going to be a great experience, because everyone there is going to be new to duck or to goose hunting, So I think that's the hardest thing that I've had to go through in trying to get out there and getting to more hunting, is because I didn't have that growing up in life and with my immediate family. So I had to learn it, and I had to reach out to people, and I had to follow social media, and I had to, groups on social media that were heavy into the interests that I had. And I especially did not have women that were surrounding me that were doing the same. So that educational goose hunt was just boom. And then, of course, I go on my first hunt and I'm just addicted. I'm like, yes, I'm going to do this all of the time.
This is an understatement. You did such a great season, and you even went to Texas with us for sandhill cranes, and you harvested a crane.
That is the coolest thing. The sandhill crane hunt was honestly the coolest thing in the world. So for anyone who's been waterfowl hunting, I mean, just hearing just like the birds overhead, like you hear them and your just emotions just go crazy. That intense feeling of just hearing those birds overhead and just going crazy. And so, sometimes there's just 100 birds or so, maybe not even that, but in Texas, there's just thousands of birds, like tens of thousands of birds. And that intensity that you feel just on a normal, regular day, multiply that by 10, 100 or so. And, in Michigan, we can't hunt the cranes, but you'd always heard that they're ribeye in the sky. And I'm like, I absolutely am going to go get myself a ribeye in the sky. Like, yes, they are very beautiful birds. I very much respect, how beautiful they are. I appreciate the beauty and everything that this bird has to offer, but I just had to try it. Like, absolutely, I have to try this bird. And hearing those birds, the tens of thousands, it was the loudest thing I've heard in a long time. It was just the coolest experience. I hope I experience many more times in my life, for sure.
For sure. And the geese, we had that great, fantastic goose hunt where we got the 11-man limit in like 3.5 hours.
Yes, that was just the coolest thing. I'm so glad that you set that up for us and gave us that opportunity, because, some of us hadn't really been able to get as many geese before, and just having that opportunity to be able to get the geese and the sandhill crane and ducks that they were out there too, just great opportunity. And I'm so glad. I can't believe we limited out with 11 people. And it was like 3.5 hours.
Yeah. And the crazy part about that is I believe 8 out of the 11 girls, it was their first either their first waterfowl hunt or their first season. And 2 of the girls had never even shot a shotgun before. So it was a complete introduction. We only had a very few limited girls. And that was counting myself, which I was more so there helping the guides and facilitate and PR. So pulling the trigger, aside from the day that we did the 11-man limit of geese, wasn't really a priority. So like, if you think about it, between 10 women, you guys laid down those cranes both days, the 11-man limit of geese. Like, you girls, especially for new hunters and inexperienced hunters, that was just an incredible defeat all in itself. And like, just like, it blew my mind that it was so fast, but it was so fun. And like you said, here in Michigan, we have a really great flyway, but we don't get the tens of thousands of birds like that, where it's ear piercingly loud and you can't even talk to the person next to you there because there's a cloud of birds moving in. Like, I'm really, really glad that you got to enjoy that. But it's really neat to me that you got to do it in your very first waterfowl season. Like, you went from 0 to 50, and that commitment, that passion is just, it's phenomenal to see it in you ladies. And that fire that it ignites, it just makes me so happy to see how happy and committed you guys get to it.
Yeah. It's funny you say the 0 to 60 because that's just kind of me as a person. So, I mean, in the sense of, if I'm going to set my mind to something, I'm going to excel at it, or at least I'm going to try my hardest to do it, right? So if I have it in my mind that in my 30s, I really want to get into more, say, homesteading type of life and, hunting off the land and foraging the land and stuff, I'm going to do what it takes to get to that point. I've done that professionally in my career, and I want to take that into my personal life now. Because A, I feel accomplished just to begin with, but B, that's just going to make me feel better about life. The things that I took my friend Chrissy with me, right? That was her first time to do all of this, and she has a fire ignited in her now too. And we were talking about it the other day, and she said, I just think it's great that now I can say I feel confident enough to know that I can provide for myself, if I ever needed to. And a lot of people don't get to experience that these days. And so that's kind of where I was going with it when I first started wanting to get into the hunting kind of realm of thing. I wasn't too sure if I wanted to focus on one area. I've been deer hunting, but I had never done waterfowl hunting. So that was, I don't know, I'm addicted now. I can't, there are a lot of people that said, some people would rather waterfowl hunt than go deer hunting. I'm like, there's no way. Like, that's crazy. Like, well, now I could kind of see it. And they're 2 different types of hunting, like absolutely 2 different types. But I could kind of see it now. I just kind of have to laugh at my older self thinking, no way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what were all the trips that you had gone on this year? What all did you do with us?
Let's see. I went 2 times goose hunting with you guys. And well, I think one was just a sponsored one. And then we had some other girls that went who have been involved before with a couple other friends. Went to the Sandhill Crane Hunt down in Texas. And then a couple of the pheasant hunting at Muzzy in Corona.
So what are you signed up for that's coming?
The walleye trip. I love fishing. I am so itching to go fishing because we didn't get to go ice fishing this year.
Right. We didn't either.
There was nothing out there. We had to drive maybe 3 hours to get somewhere on a good weekend. If it was, I'm just bummed because I got a new shape to use it. And I've only used it a couple times, and I was going to actually volunteer for the ice fishing event, the beginner's ice fishing event. But we had unfortunately had to end up canceling it just due to safety concerns, which is absolutely reasonable.
Yeah. Unfortunately, with ice fishing, that's a problem that you run into. It never fails. Whenever you plan something like that, there's no ice.
Yeah. Like, that was always a concern, but the way that everything froze up so quickly around the split, so around the 31st and the 1st, everything had like feet of ice, and I'm like, there's no way in 3 weeks we're not gonna have any ice. 2 weeks
Right.
later, this is gone. And I'm like,
Gone.
go.
I know.
spoke too soon.
Yeah. Well, that's what you
But-
get for saying that.
Sam does have her first turkey hunt scheduled with me. So we have turkey bird coming, and
I'm so
I think that's
excited.
going to be a whole nother fowl addiction for her, that once she gets that, because turkey's a very sensory hunt. So I'll be taking Sam out to get her first bird this spring.
I have been wanting to get my first bird for so long. I just thought it would be really, I just think I've just heard so much about the hunt and how amazing it is. And I just cannot wait for that because I'm going with you, Felicia, and I couldn't even imagine anybody else that I would want to go with. I'm going to hype you up here a little bit, but you're such a mentor for a lot of girls that are just getting into hunting. Shouldn't just say girls, but women as well. And you make them feel like they're smart enough that they can do this, because that's a big thing. That's it is very intimidating to just throw yourself into fishing or hunting or whatever and not really know what you're doing. But also that, there's no dumb questions that you ever ask. You have no problem repeating yourself over and over again to let us know. And then you explain everything so nice and concisely. And I always I go, are you okay? Do you understand? Are you good? And I'm like, yeah, because I'll tell you if I don't understand. Whereas some people might not. And so I think you work really well with the ladies too. And I would totally hype you up too, Linda, but I haven't been to a trapping event with you yet. So
it's okay. Don't even worry about it. Don't even worry about it. No, but
but I've just been with Felicia so much. So
but that's great that you feel that way. And I think that whenever going out on events like this, especially when you're brand new, you need to have somebody like that in your corner. Like somebody
Absolutely.
who can explain everything in full detail and sit there and support you and cheer you on. Like that can make or break a hunter right off the bat, I feel like,
Absolutely. Quite frankly, I've been on plenty of hunts, many different types of hunts with different people, and it was really deterring being on a couple of those, and because I didn't feel like I could speak up or ask the right questions, or how would you not know that, or you're in my way, and things before, and I just don't feel that, especially with for the most part, all of my waterfowl hunts have been with multiple people, a lot of people, and the way that we all work together and help each other out. I was next to the girl in the blind when we were in those A-frames for the Sandhill crane hunt, and she, you could tell she wasn't very comfortable with her firearm, and so just reminding people, turn your safety on. Always keep it on or such. And no one was offended by that. We were all looking out for each other. We're all saying, hey, make sure it's unloaded, make sure you're carrying it a certain way. Can you help me with this zipper? Can you, should I wear this? What kind of shells should I bring? Just all those things where, you could probably Google it, but these girls are there. We're all there to help each other. So it was, I just can't talk up Women of the Wild and all of the exciting opportunities that there are out there for girls to get out there.
I'm really, I'm really glad appreciative that that's how you feel, because with these events, the biggest thing is for women to know it's okay that you don't have experience. We want to help you, and we want to help you level up to where you're at, or if you already do have a skill set, come out and build on it, or be there for these new girls to help, like you said, with the safety. Like I know when we were, she wasn't comfortable with her firearm, I pulled her aside one-on-one in the evening and took her in my room, and we made sure the gun was unloaded and taught her all of that safety and everything, how to shoulder it, how to jump up with it shouldered. We went over all of that. But then when you're in the action and you're not comfortable, to have somebody there that does have experience, that's okay too. Like these women, it doesn't matter experience level. When we intermix like that and you can interject your knowledge into other women, and the way that the atmosphere that we build with Women of the Wild, it's very important to us to give everybody their place. You know what I mean? Like everybody serves a purpose. And you've seen this on the pheasant hunts. We try to intermix experience with beginners because, you know, that PR might be busy or that guide might be doing this and this girl's gun might jam, or, you know, they might have a question about this. And you girls, regardless of experience level, like I know that there's been hunts where girls have been like, hey, Felicia, I don't know this answer. Come here. And I'll come over. And if I don't know the answer, I'll find just somebody that does. But we're all just, like you said, there to be each other's cheerleaders. And I think that you're a really great advocate of the experience because you've done so many events, whether they were sponsored by Women of the Wild or they were through Women of the Wild. You really immersed yourself in it. You started being willing to volunteer with us. And like that is awesome all in itself, because that just goes to show the passion that something like this builds and the community that it builds. Like you girls become sisters, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And the friendships, like seeing two girls together, like you take two girls on a hunt and then the next weekend those two girls are out doing something together. Like it's awesome seeing the blossom.
It's so cool. Yeah, absolutely. And that is another thing out of this, you know, I'm learning to build my self-confidence in being excelling in something that I'm super interested in, right? But also I'm building these friendships and networking with people, you know. I think that's the coolest thing too. You know, say, you know, especially with all of the community, the fishing community and the hunting community and such, it's so cool to see you guys at Outdoor Rama and how so many people were like, oh, you gotta go see the girls for, you know, Women of the Wild, and like just, you know, the boys and the fishing charters and stuff, they all talk us all up, and it's just like everyone is just so awesome and intermingling with each other and being so supportive of just it's such a good community, like tight-knit community. But so it's just like the networking and building those friendships too. You know, I have girlfriends now from very, you know, many areas in the country. So if I want to go on a hunt, you know, out there, we can call each other and, you know, go schedule a hunt, or they could come to us now, or a fishing trip. You know, we were talking about fishing in Texas. We can talk about the fishing in Wisconsin too. And, you know, like that's just so cool. And you have all of these opportunities to travel. I love traveling. Traveling is amazing. And I'm so glad we decided to it was the longest drive ever, but I'm so glad that we decided to drive to Texas because we had such good talks, you know, so many laughs and such good talks. But, you know, it's just like great time to bond, and we got to experience all of that, you know, just travel together. So yeah, I'm such an advocate for it because, again, I came from, where do I even start with this? And it was in my head, well, you know, I'll be a part of the local state conservation clubs and such too. And I moved to a new town when I turned 30. So I was brand new and everything. So I had to really find out and meet new people and find out where to go. But so then in my head, I'm like, well, maybe social media. And so I started following all these groups of women fishing and, you know, women anglers, and then huntresses and such. And I was like, man, there's a lot of women that do all this. I was like, that's so badass. I want to be badass like that, you know? And then I meet you guys and I'm like, oh, this is so awesome. Like, they're all badass. I want to be badass. This is just all badass. So yeah, I definitely, yeah, I advocate it so much because you're going to, if you join groups like these, or, you know, just be a part of the hunts, whether you're brand new or seasoned of some sort, you're always going to get something out of it, right? You're going to build your self-confidence. You're going to gain friends, gain experience. It's just going to, that's why I just keep volunteering or signing up. Like, let's go.
Sam, you have earned your badassery badge for
Oh,
sure.
you know what? I appreciate that. Do I get a little badge on? Like, do I get
We'll get
something
you
that
a
I can
badge.
just?
We'll see what we can do. Maybe we can give those in little giveaway bags or something.
That's so
Here's
funny.
here's your honourary badass badge. I like that. I
Does
like
that mean
We'll
that
put
you
it
guys
on-
get the crowns and stuff then? Because I'm just like a subject at
Oh,
that
geez.
point.
a badge
Oh,
that
that's
says
funny.
Black Betty badassery.
Black Betty Badassery. Yeah.
You'll have to
For those
explain the
listening
story.
to this. Yeah, I was gonna say for those listening to this. So my last name is Beland, but you know, it looks like Beland. And so when our Beland, and so for the longest time, that like Ramble Jam song, whatever, they're like, whoa, Black Betty, Sam Beland. So
Yeah.
that's my Instagram tag. Follow me if you'd like. But yeah, everybody sings it whenever
I
they're
love
around
it.
me. So yeah.
That's great. That's great. So
I was
So,
blowing it into a goose call on our goose hunt. She had it stuck in my head so bad. Sorry, Linda. I had to interject that.
no, that's okay. That's okay. And now a short word from our sponsors.
Hey everyone, Andy Lehman here from ACC Crappie Sticks. Just want to let you know about our crappie baits and jig heads. We have a wide selection of the hottest colors and big eye crappie jig heads in the most popular colors and sizes. Check them all out at accrappiesticks.com. Thank you.
Do you enjoy the great outdoors and hope to share that excitement with your kids? Now you can through Dr. Josh Farr's great collection of books. Share your love of nature while also teaching valuable life lessons on friendship and learning the alphabet with books like The ABCs of Hunting. Plus, the ABCs of Hunting workbook is the perfect learning tool to captivate young readers and create a foundation for your future hunter. Find out more about these and other books from Dr. Josh Farr at drjoshfarr.com. That's drjoshfarr.com.
Girls with Guns Clothing is a proud sponsor of Women of the Wilds podcast. If you are looking for hunting gear, be sure to check out our new fall collection, including the launch of our new Artemis Generation 2 lineup. With Girls with Guns, you know that our gear has been designed and field tested by women who actually hunt and wear this gear. We have an amazing team of women who contribute and share their ideas and extensive field testing so that our gear works for you in multiple hunting environments. We build our gear for women of all shapes and sizes, made by women for women. If you want to try out GWG, you can go to gwgclothing.com and use WILD15 for a discount off of your first order.
Well, you see, trappers are a special breed of people. We're dedicated, committed, and passionate about what we do and who we are. Each and every one of us has an intense desire to be the very best we can. So in the world of skinny jeans, man buns, and pumpkin spice lattes, sometimes you just have to stop, push back, and tell the world, that's not me. Whether you're from the far north or in the deep south and anywhere in between, Southern Snares can help you succeed at getting the job done and being who you are.
We would also like you to check out Sawmill Creek Bait and Lures, RMC Custom Calls, Atlantic Coral Enterprise, Blast and Cast Guide Service, Epler Fur, Feather Moon Calls, Shangalaya Safaris, Shelly Emmer with Dirty Girl Guide Service, and Hunting Day Podcast. And now back to the podcast. Okay, so I gotta ask Sam, going into this first time, you're like your very first hunt with us, signing up, kind of tell us a little bit about how that felt. Did you at any point were you like, oh man, I don't know about this, or was it as soon as you got in, you were like, all right, we're doing it. I'm good. Like, how did this go?
Yeah, actually, I looked at it and I was like, I'll sign up for that later. And then I was like, no, Sam, you're going to do it. I had to like talk myself into it. And I'm like, how else are you going to ever have this experience? It's beginner's hunt, beginners. So even if you have these questions, it has to be sure that somebody else has the same questions as you do. And so, I hit the submit, put my payment down, whatever. I'm like, okay, well, now I got to do it. And I'll tell you, I did not sleep the night before because I'm a very social person, obviously. But when I don't feel like I am like the best at something, or I'm just learning or such, like again, I do get very intimidated by that. And so it was kind of intimidating at first, but I think everybody who, puts themselves out there and just says, I'm going to do this for myself. I'm just going to do it. It's my first time. So what? I think every one of the girls that I've talked to who said, this is my first time ever shooting a gun or, going out and doing this hunt. And I'm going to keep doing this because, it just, you have to do it. You just have to do it. There's that part of you saying you're not comfortable and you should probably back away from it, but you have to do the uncomfortable. You have to get through the uncomfortable in order to be a better person. So and that's what I just said, got to do it.
Yeah.
And thank God I did.
And thank God you did. Yeah. We're glad you did. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think that that's important for anybody to know, to really grow, to really experience like the best of everything, you do have to step out of your comfort zone.
Absolutely.
And you have to be able to be aware of that. Like, okay, I'm going to feel awkward and uncomfortable, but I'm going to grow out of this. There's going to be some great thing at the end. So that the uncomfortable is just for a little bit. And I got to say, like, so a lot of ladies that I've talked to about when they first started out with us or going on a new hunt or whatever, the biggest thing was that they felt that, yeah, there was uncomfortableness at first, but because you were surrounded by ladies, it went away a little bit faster.
Yes. Yes. And as I had kind of mentioned before, the hunts that I felt a little bit more deterred from being pumped up or getting a fire in me is quite frankly because I was around men. And I think a lot of women always talk about that and then having to balance their personal home life and being a mom and being a career person as well. And then also having to deal with the male support or lack thereof of getting into fishing or hunting or foraging even or homesteading of some sort. And so to have a group of ladies that, I can be around, I think a lot of people would agree that it's hard for women to really be surrounded by a good support system of women. I feel like as we get older, that gets a little bit harder. I've never once felt that in this community, especially women of the wild, as we've talked about earlier, it's just the immense support. And yeah, I will say and it was interesting too, because we're all in there and there's about 6 or 7 of us or so. And we're all introducing each other and just kind of talking about our lives, kind of like this, back and forth. Oh, how'd you get into it? And almost all of us said, I'm the hunter or the fisherman in my relationship with my boyfriend or my fiance or husband. And I've had to teach him these things. And, he's just like, honey, go do your thing. And I'm like, that is so cool, because it's normally roles reversed. And I think that a lot of ladies, like, I didn't even know that existed. Like I said, I didn't really grow up with a bunch of, especially hunters in my life, but them also being women. Not saying they don't in my family, but not my direct family. So to see that is just so cool. And so like all of their friends and all of their family that just got involved, I'm like, hey, I want to be friends with you guys. You're like a good support system. Let's all be friends. They're like, yeah, let's all be friends. Let's all support each other. So yeah.
You know what, Sam? It's funny that you say that because as you were saying that, I was going through the checklist in my head of who was on that first educational goose hunt. And you are absolutely right. Every female there is the hunter in their relationship or their personal life. Every single one of you girls was like, and you were all, obviously it was your first waterfowl season, but it was like, out of the experience level, like you said, you have it in deer or something like that, but all of you ladies on that hunt all had that in common too. So finding that like piece of that puzzle that's like almost missing, it like clicks and you're like, oh my gosh, we have so much to relate on. And there wasn't a quiet moment. Like we had so much fun, but you girls got to learn so much, but the connections made after that, like all of you girls still talk to this day and have gone on hunts together. I mean, shoot, we just had that late season goose, and 3 out of the 4 or 5 of you that were on that hunt were on that hunt. So you started season together and you ended season together.
Yes.
With Colt and I. And that was kind of a neat,
it was
just
bittersweet.
Like, we got to start it together and finish it together. So that was really cool.
And it was crazy the amount of confidence that we had at that point. You know, we had only been out a few times in, between both beginning and late season. And you could just tell with that late season hunt, we were like, we are here to party. We are here to just make sure that we're going to come home we're going to bag some geese. And just everybody's confidence was just amazing and through the roof. And the, just like the jokes that we have, like Colt's awesome. And he's, helped us out a couple times now. And just, going to be there again in the fall. That's all I have to say. And I hope that the ladies that are listening to this, who are having, reservations or second thoughts about ever just diving into it, just do it. Just get out there. You know what? You might not like it. First time you might not like it. That's okay, but you tried it. Right. Or you might get addicted, which I'm pretty sure is probably going to happen. I mean, that sounds bad. I'm addicted to hunting, but And I think it's really awesome that after all of these, events that we do, there's always that opportunity to learn how to process your own animals as well, or fishes and such, which is a huge thing to me. That's what I really wanted to learn. I really wanted to learn how am I going to ever fend for myself out in the wild, if that was the thing, which I want it to be. So but I think, to me, that's my envision of hunting. I want to be able to go out there, harvest an animal, come back and clean it and use all of the parts, talk about how we can use all of them. And I think that's a really great opportunity for a lot of people too. Instead of just pulling the trigger, literally, they can kind of finish out that whole process too. So
I think that's very important, and with COVID, I think that has been, since then, has been the forefront in a lot of people's minds. Like, if there's a shutdown tomorrow and we're back to shipping containers, sitting on the golf and everything else, how am I going to take care of my family? And I think that has woke up a lot of people. And I hate saying the whole woke thing, but that part, right. I think it had, and it's funny because, so I'm big into the trapping community, and people ask me all the time whenever I started a women's business in the trapping community, they're like, are there really women who do this? And I said, we're the best kept secret. And then since COVID hit, and women have literally came out of the woodwork, I keep telling these guys, I'm like, well, the secret's out of the bag, buddy.
Well, if I do it myself, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
But you're right. You're right, Linda, with the COVID, what we faced as an economy with COVID, it built a desire for self-sustainability. And it really drove a lot of people, like you said, to wake up and be like, oh, I might not one day be able to afford the meat at the grocery store, or I might not want to purchase my food there and support this. And being able to be self-sustainable, but on your own time, and learn it in the proper ways is so important. So like the canning event that we did, took 20 women and got them taught how to can meats, how to can vegetables. Like that was a really great event because that self-sustainability, it doesn't have to be hunting and it doesn't have to be fishing. There's something for everyone. But like you said, Sam, like you don't know if you like it till you try it. And I tell people, if you don't know and you have like that little, little voice in the back of your head saying, I'm just curious. Stop being curious and try it.
Right. Absolutely. So I'd never been around trapping ever. So that, Felicia, I kind of mentioned something in the truck to you on the way back. And I'm like, I just, not that I don't understand it. I understand it, but I just don't know like the whole scenario around it and like what you have to do in preparation and then after and why and so on and so forth. And your explanation of everything was just intriguing. It's just not something that I really grew up with. And I think that's a whole other area that I just think is so fascinating to do, because you were talking to me about how you have to outsmart all of the animals and they'll actually screw around with you and they'll leave stuff in the traps. And I just think it's like the funniest thing, it's a game we play, right? And us as animals just in the world itself. So I am really looking forward to those other and I'm glad other people are looking forward to them too, as those other types of either like little seminars that you can give or even just events of the foraging. Or I think we were talking about doing shed hunting at some point too. And like those are just so cool. So yeah, if you don't want to be involved in fishing or hunting, let's go get some mushrooms or
Well, and even the girls with the curiosity, we have the online courses. So Linda taught an online trapping event for land trapping, and then Megan taught an online water trapping. And then next month, she's actually doing one on introduction to public land to explain, units and draws, what to pack, what to expect. So even if you're just kind of interested, that's a really good toe in the water to see what it's all about and learn about it. So like the online trapping classes that Linda and Megan host are fantastic because you can lose so much of the false persona that follows the negativity behind stuff. Like trapping is a big one that people have a misconception about. And Linda knows that better than anyone. But like, if you have the thought in your head that this is intriguing, like sitting in on those is really nice. And it can be anything. Like right now we're working on one, Linda, she's going to be doing one on plants. And like, that just goes to show like, it's not always this hell bent, we got to kill something. It's it's the self-sustainability lifestyle for girls to become more independent and build that relationship with themselves.
Yeah.
If you think about, maybe our mothers and grandmothers, they might have been a little bit of a part of, actually going on a hunt or going fishing or foraging and stuff, but more than likely they're the ones that were preparing everything too. So how awesome is that now we can be that generation that is going to go out there and harvest it ourselves, and then also be able to prepare all of that too. But yeah.
I'd like to circle back to something you had said about, if you ever decide this is maybe something you're interested in, to just go out and try it. And with this day and age, I feel that it is so important. Any skill in your arsenal, whether you're going to use it daily or it's the only time that you're ever going, like for trapping, for instance, if you came out with me or you took a class or whatever, and you're never going to do it, but now you know how to if you needed to, or you go duck hunting and you're like, maybe this isn't for me, like you said, I don't know why anyone would say that, but just maybe, but if they say that, but now they have that knowledge, that skill set. So if they're ever stuck in a situation where, what, I have to go duck hunting today, like it's not an option, this is what I need to do, you're now prepared, and like coming back to those groups where you were like, there were some males in those groups, and that's why you were not as comfortable. Now that you've gone out on so many different hunts and everything with women, I'm sure if you went back to those groups, you would feel so much more comfortable. You could stand
yeah.
on your own feet.
100%.
And with your attitude, I could see you being like, oh no, watch me now.
Like, actually, I think you're supposed to do it this way.
Yeah, I could see
Well,
that.
It's funny that you say that, Linda, because that first educational goose hunt that Sam was on, it was all women.
Mhm.
But when we closed the season out, it was a mix of men and women, and it wasn't done through Women of the Wild. It was a personal hunt. But Sam was there. Sam Bell was there. And Hannah was there with us. And then we had 3 gentlemen there with us, and it was not uncomfortable. It wasn't in any way like, you stupid girl, you don't know that. You know what I mean? Like, it was when the girl comes in with confidence. So I think that's a big
I think
piece of
that
it,
is the thing.
is when you don't know, they know it. And sometimes, not all, because there are some
They
really
feed on
great
it.
men out there that absorb and help. But sometimes when you're that quote unquote newbie, you have to earn your place. You have to earn your respect. And I think the way that it's so funny because the intimidation, you could see it in all of you on that first hunt in September. But in February, you girls walked into that field like you owned it. And you guys were cheering each other on, cheering the guys on. You know, we were doing duck calls and goose calls, like we were teaching you guys that in the field. And like the absorption of information from men, from women, where you can combine it at that point, but you have the confidence.
Yeah.
I think it changes everything.
Yeah. Yep. Well, I mean, even so, back to where the intimidation factor is such, I feel like if you're a newbie at all in any, they're always going to harass you, right? It doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman, they always harass you. I grew up with guys all my life, right? So I was big tomboy growing up. I'm used to being, kind of picked on about stuff, but I will say, that last hunt, I'm like, I know that's not right. You can't pick on me about that, or but no, they definitely did not pick on. In fact, we all had a good time, and it was fun because we're all just talking to talk and just having good conversations and just carrying on the conversations about it all and talking about our upcoming hunts and what we want to do with those, and even talking about, since we saw so many ducks instead of geese for a day there. We were talking about all the ducks that we wanted to cross off our list, and just comparing. The funniest thing was, I think that was a this, or I think that was that, and I'm just like, no, it's definitely Bluffy, or it wasn't, it was not, and just like the fight between us, because we've worked on that, our knowledge so much on wanting to know that and wanting to cross those birds off our list, and then also, when it's, then you should probably know what you're shooting at.
That's probably a good thing. Know what you're
probably a good thing, but it was so funny, But even with the geese, we're like, is that a snow goose? Is that a Ross? Is that the different types of geese that we were just throwing out there? It was our range of knowledge was just so much bigger, because we loved it and we cared.
Well, and Texas was a big attribute to that because we shot graders, lessers, cacklers, snow, a Ross, specks. So you guys really got to see the diversity in species and learn that neck circumference and the neck length of telling the difference between a lesser and a cackler, and being able to notice and identify those things. So seeing that, I mean, here in Michigan, you're not going to have that. You got graders, you got lessers, you're not getting cacklers here. But like my group has shot a Ross here in Michigan, but snows have been taken here. But to see those, it took you out of your element and put you in a situation where now you're going to see that and you're going to be like, oh, that's not a snow, that's a Ross, or that's a Meganzer. You know what I mean? Like, you're now in that situation to be able to better identify because of the broad spectrum that you were able to experience through the season.
Or even just watching the birds in the sky. Is that a duck? No, that's definitely a goose. Was that a sandhill crane? We're not sure. It's like, just being able to tell those now. Like
the swans that were taunting us all day.
Swans, man. Why must they do that? But that's also another thing of hunting. is you just get to watch all of that wildlife.
Yeah.
You know, you get to, even if you're in the woods, you get to see the squirrels and the chipmunks, even though but you get to see the crows, you get to see how nature just works with each other. And then, you know, hunting waterfowl, you get to see swans up close doing their mating dances. And I love it. Just even, you know what, if I'm not having a quote successful day, being able to harvest anything, it's still a successful day to me because I got to be out and be just outside in nature, you know, enjoying that.
That's awesome. That's a great way of looking at it too. So we normally try to keep these to roughly about an hour, and we're coming up on that hour. But before we let you go, I've got to ask, bucket list. What's out there that you're like, hey, I really want to do this someday, or I'm working up to it now? I mean, because you've got that go-getting attitude, and I don't see much stopping you. So
right,
where are we at? What are we to look forward to with you?
Man, I want to do a red stag for sure, and it would be so cool to do it with my bow. Like I love bow hunting. I think it's just so primitive, and I know that we're using a compound. I probably would use a compound. I wouldn't use a longbow. Who knows? I don't know. Maybe I'll become pretty awesome at that in the next few
Why
years.
not?
But
right?
Why not? Why not? I don't know. My bank account says different, but
we're working
that's
up
also
to
a hard
it.
thing. You know, just this whole single lady thing is great here and there until you want to go on all these hunting trips. But I'll take sponsors. But so yeah, an elk too. I think some kind of big game, maybe out west, and make it a trip. Like I wouldn't want to just go for one specific animal per se. I think having, you know, a couple weeks or so of just going out there and living off the land and just kind of hiking through and, you know, having your eye set on a few different types of species would be really great. Kind of like what you guys are going to do down in Texas.
Yeah, you should have come with us for that.
I know that whole funding thing. Yeah, I might next time.
That's great off what you just described: backpacking in the mountains of Southwest Texas, multiple animals, a big range and variety.
It's
and
so
that Africa
funny.
Trip.
It's so funny that you talk about I'll take sponsors because so a couple years ago, I don't remember what it was. I think it was my alligator trip. I wanted to go do alligators and everything, and ended up that was a whole mess and had to cancel all this stuff. But anyhow, prior to that, I tried to figure out how much this was going to cost. And so if you don't have somebody who's like kind of guiding you and going with you that you know, this is a very expensive trip.
Yeah.
I mean, it gets very, very expensive really quick.
Yeah.
And so I was all about, I'm going to set up this GoFundMe page and I'm going to give this sad story about how it is my dream to catch this alligator. And my husband's like, you are not doing that. He's like, we cannot share that to anyone. And I'm like, but it would be amazing. He's like, no. He's like, you can't do that. So it was just funny when you're like, people come sponsor me. I get flashbacks about my GoFundMe alligator page that I was not allowed to publish. He was
Listen, I have no shame.
Yeah, he was like foot down, like
Foot
we are
down.
not. And I had it like all written out. I'll have to see if I can find it like this story.
That's
like
so
I tried
funny.
to make this like sad story about why I needed to go so badly and everything.
And alligators are killing all of the little puppies and stuff, and I have to go.
Well, I think at one point I put about like there was an alligator that was on a golf course and how like that really can hurt people and they would just come up out of the water while you're golfing. And so I'm saving all of these golfers by coming down and I'll have to see if I can find it and send it out to you. But
a little bit of a stretch, but right. Yeah, I mean, what's the worst you do? You put it out there and you get a no.
No. I got a no before I even put it out there. Michael was like, we are not doing this.
Linda, we are not doing that.
Yeah. He doesn't tell me no very often. So when he does, I'm like,
yeah,
fine.
Fair,
whatever.
I can hear Michael's voice being like, Linda, really?
Yes.
Like I can literally hear that as you say that.
Well, it was funny because I was kind of like, guess what I did today? And he's like, no, nope,
No.
not what we're doing. Sorry, honey. Nope.
You're like, this is what I'm doing.
Yeah, right. So, well, Sam, I hate to leave you because you are such a great person and so much fun to talk to, but we are on our hour. So I am going to say, do you got anything else for us? Anything you want to leave the listeners on?
Think that you guys are absolutely wonderful, and definitely giving a shout out to Win of the Wild, and especially the two of you. You guys have done so much for the whole group itself and making sure that everybody feels included. And so again, I'm just going to reiterate it again. Do the thing that makes you feel uncomfortable. And again, if you decide that you just don't like it, whatever, you tried it before, but you have to get through that uncomfortable phase in order to get to more growth, right? And so I think that's how you should take your direction in life. And that's how you should take it if you ever want to get out into the outdoors. Because I fully feel that you should spend some time every day in the outdoors and definitely laughing and having a good time.
Absolutely. Now, for any of our listeners that want to follow you on social media, do you want to drop your handle for Instagram, Facebook?
Yeah. So Facebook, I'm just Sam Beland, so BELAND. And then for Instagram, it's Black Betty Sam, and then BALAN. And that's how you can follow me. And that's all I have right now. And I'm trying to get more of a presence on social media because I've noticed that more of a presence of me being outside gets a little bit more people and in the communities, and we can all just thrive off of each other. And I love it.
Yes.
Wonderful. And thank you, because you are, like I said earlier, you are a complete Spitfire. So we look forward to having you on more trips and having you volunteer with us. And we just want to thank you for giving Women of the Wild a chance to become a part of your community and being as incredible as you are, because you are so much fun out there. Girls, if you want to get out with somebody who is absolutely going to make your trip worth it, Sam's one of them.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much for having me on. This is such a great opportunity. I was so excited when you guys reached out about this. I'm like, yes. And we were talking about, is there anything you want to cover? I'm like, oh, we're going to talk.
We're got it all. We're doing it all.
We're fine. We're not going to run low on time. We're good.
You are. Well, thank you so much, Sam. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
And that concludes this episode of Women of the Wild podcast. We hope you enjoyed this episode. And if you have any questions or would like to check out our website, it is www.womenofthewild.net. We post different events and everything that we've got going on. We would really like to also thank our sponsors, ACC Crappie Sticks, Girls with Guns, Southern Snare, Sawmill Creek Baits and Lures, RMC Custom Calls, Atlantic Coral Enterprise, Blast and Cast Guide Service, Epler Fur, Feather Moon Calls, Shangri-La Safari, Dr. Josh Farr Children's Books, and Shelly Emmer with Dirty Girl Guide Service. Thank you all, and hope that you tune in 2 weeks for our next episode.